Hello and welcome to TKG Games. In this tutorial we're going to be talking about components, but before we start, what I'd like to say is that I will be breaking down these tutorials into smaller parts. The reason is because these tutorials about making games get long really fast, and I feel like I'm rushing the content, and I really don't want to do that because people learn at different paces, but at the same time me rushing it doesn't make it any easier to get the concepts. So I'm going to be breaking them down to smaller parts. Alright. So today we're going to talk about scripts as components. So Unity pretty much is a component system, and objects have components as a flat hierarchy, and objects can have a collection of components. Component systems, they facilitate prototyping, and components can be copied from one object to another. Alright, so that's what makes components systems a lot more better than hierarchy systems that are in flat. Because with the hierarchy systems that are in flat, you have to do a lot of overriding to get the same type of behaviors. So the goal of this tutorial would be to show how to add components, to show how to make an object fall using the physics component, to use the mono behavior function on collision enter to simulate an event, to create more manageable code either using regions or using functions, to access components via scripts, to delete objects, to delete components, and then we're going to be looking into the asset store so we can download the SkyBox, and then we're going to be looking at the transform tool to move, rotate, or scale our objects. Alright, so let's actually go ahead and create a Unity project, and then we're going to set up some basic stuff for the next part of the tutorial. So let me just go to the new tab and let me go ahead and just go to a new desktop here, and what we're going to do is we're going to double click on the icon here to come up with the Unity editor here, and what we want to do here is we want to go to new, and I'm just going to call this scripts, and leave everything as default. Obviously, if you want to change the location where your project is being stored, you can do that, and leave a template as a 3D template, and then hit create project. And Unity is going to do its thing, so I'm going to come back when that is. So once Unity is completely set up and the project is created, we should have one folder in our scenes. If you're using version 2018.1.2, this should happen right away. And if you open that up, you should have the sample scene that is created for us by Unity. Next we want to do is we want to actually import, and we want to import something from the package manager. So what we want to do is go to import package. We want to go to utility. And what I want to do is want to uncheck everything, scroll down until you find smooth follow, which is a script. Check it and hit import. And what that's gonna do is import that script for us right here, and we have that script here under the add standard assets. All right. What we want to do next is we want to go to the asset store. And we want to search for SkyBox. And what I want to do, we want to modify the price here, so we take the price down to 0. We want everything that's free, and just scroll down, and I like the SkyBox, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this one. You can pick any one that you want. And what I want to do is we want to first download it. Since I already downloaded this before, you have to download first before you import, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to import this, and I'm going to hit import. And if we go back into our assets, let this do its thing, and once that's done, then we'll be able to access the editor again. Alright, so if we go back into our assets, you can see that we have a new folder here for the SkyBox. So go to your scene right here, double click into the SkyBox, go to material, and drag the second one and drop it. And when we go out and hit play, you can see that our sky material has been changed. Okay, our SkyBox. Alright, so what we need to do next is we need to go ahead and create another folder, and we're going to call this scripts. And inside of scripts, what we need to do is go under assets and go to create, and C# script, or we could just right click here and go to create and type in C# script. Okay, so we're gonna call this script playground. The reason I'm calling it playground is just, I don't know, for namesake. So you can call it whatever you want, actually. So what we're gonna do next is we want to actually create a game object, a 3D game object. So you can either create a 3D game object by right clicking and then go into 3D game object, or go into game object and then go to 3D, and we want to create a cube, and we want to name the cube floor. All right, and what we want to do is we want to actually make this like a floor. So we're going to scale the object 10 on the x-axis and 10 on the z-axis, and we want to scale it 0.3 on the y-axis. All right, and now what we do is we have a floor material, object here that has a mesh renderer and other components. So you can see that this component has a transform in there. So a transform is how we can look at or change the object's position. So if we move the object in the x direction, you can see it goes x in the x direction, and if we move in the y direction, you see it goes up, and if we move in the z direction, it goes forward and backwards. And what we can do here is we can always reset that back to normal, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit undo, and instead of resetting everything, I'm just gonna go to position, and I'm gonna reset position. All right, so that's going back to 0, 0. So next, what we want to do is we want to create a ball. So we want to simulate a ball falling on this object, right, and rolling. So what we need to do is need to create another object, and this is going to be a sphere. What you want to do is you don't want to have this highlighted, because what's going to happen is going to create a child object inside the floor. What we want to do is we want to create an object by itself. So right click and goes to 3D and goes to sphere. All right, so now we have a ball here, and we're going to call this ball. All right, so next thing we want to do is we actually want to create a tag for our floor, because we want to check to see when the ball hits the floor, we can change the color, right? So we can create an event where if the ball hits this, we check to see if the ball collided with the floor, and if the ball collided with the floor, then we can go ahead and change the color of the floor by using the render material here, using the material property to change the color. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to tag, and we're going to add tag. We're going to create a new tag here, and we're going to call this floor, and this is going to be a string. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we want to go ahead and make this ball fall by adding in a physics component, because right now when we go ahead and hit play, you can see the ball is just hanging in the air. It doesn't do anything, right? So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and add a rigid body. So type in rigid. Okay, rigid body, right? And now what this does is it adds things like use gravity. So this ball is going to fall down. So when we go ahead and hit play one more time, you can see the ball actually falls down. However, there's no falls being added to this object once it hits the ground, right? So what we can do is we can use one of the Unity's predefined properties for gravity or for falls, which is part of a rigid body component, and we can use that to push the ball in a certain direction by adding falls to it. Okay, so right now it's not doing anything. Go back to add component, and we want to do is we want to hit say constant. We want to add a constant falls, and we want this one over here, and we want to put, let's say 3 in the y-axis and 3 in the z-axis. So now when we go ahead now and do that, you can see the ball is going to roll because we're adding falls to it, and it's going to drop down. However, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we want to follow the ball. So what we want to do is we're going to take our script that we downloaded before, or we got from the asset store, the follow script, and attach it to the camera. Go to the camera, and we want to go ahead here and drag our ball object into this target variable here, and we want to go ahead here and increase that distance to about 25. And now when we go ahead here and the ball falls, you can see that the camera actually follows the ball wherever it falls. So this will be it for this part of the tutorial. The next tutorial we're going to be actually scripting.